Welcome to Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Ship, and I'm excited to be sharing with you my life with a son on the spectrum. This podcast is for anyone who is looking for quick tips and perspective, but most of all, for hope and inspiration. So sit back, relax, and let's put the pieces together. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Ship. Thank you so much for joining us today. Last week, we had the great pleasure of talking with Dr. Candace Holmes. If you didn't get a chance to tune into that episode, please do. We had a two-part show series, actually, about what she does and about neurofeedback. She also has a great book that's out right now called Transform Your Brain with Neurofeedback. So if you didn't get a chance to check out those episodes, please do. And thank you again to Dr. Holmes, a wealth of information. And I appreciate all the insights that she offered to us on the show. This week, I have the great honor and pleasure of having my good friend, Zorina. Is it Pritchett? Can you say it again for me, Zorina?
Zorina Pritchett.
Pritchett, yes. I love saying your name. Let me tell you a little bit about Zorina. Zorina lives by the mission of escaping the digital world and playing a game can be fun. That's part of her mission. She's the creator of a game called ZomadicShift, Pass and Play, and she's the owner of a company called ZoChey. Zorina's unique story blends her decades of experience serving veterans, her roots as an Army veteran, and her passion for storytelling. After retiring from a 30-year career helping veterans access benefits, Zorina took on an entirely new challenge, turning a dream into reality by creating engaging educational card games designed for kids and for their families. For her, the laughter and joy sparked while playing these games is what really drives her mission. Join us as we explore how games can make a real difference, one laugh at a time. Please welcome Zorina to the show. Zorina, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Nikki.
I know. I'm so excited to have you on the show. I know we've been playing a lot of phone tag and show tag and all of these things to try to get you on the show. So I'm glad that you're finally here because I'm so excited to talk about the game that you've created to help families and their kids. And we have had a great time playing your game. So I was ecstatic to hear that you were going to be on the show today. I want to kind of start off by just asking you, can you share with our audience that's listening today about your personal experiences, as you know, especially as a caregiver, because you do have a story about your brother and how it kind of shaped your pathway into this form of entrepreneurship.
Because when my brother had a brain stroke, he had one left memory, and it really affected his cognitive skills, his ability to speak, along with some other conditions that were disabling. But it was mostly the cognitive part of it. And at that time, it happened during COVID. So it was very difficult to get him the clinical care that he needed.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to figure it out myself. Like so many of you, you're having to figure things out. And so I had family members that were on the sidelines checking in, but no one stepped up to offer any solutions or any breaks, to be honest. And so working with my brother cognitive, I found myself always in this really crazy situation where I'm always directing. And I was not used to that, where you're constantly telling this person, oh no, put this down. Oh, don't touch that. Oh, that's not how you do it. And it was really uncomfortable. It was really uncomfortable. I found it very frustrating. And then I finally realized that, you know what? I wanted my brother not only to survive his brain stroke, but I wanted my brother to thrive. And that's a big difference.
Yeah,
and so in order to get him to thrive, I literally had to change my attitude of how I saw cognitive impairment. And I started thinking creative ways of how I can help him to improve his speech, such as instead of me just talking to him, try to encourage him to communicate to me. Even though the aphasia, his communication was choppy, it didn't matter. It sounded like music to me because it was giving him an opportunity to express himself. And then I also wanted him to say words out loud because I wanted my brother to become comfortable with his voice. And then I started noticing that when I created the game, and started playing the pass and play in the original game, ZomadicShift, we shifted from this directional relationship into this more intimate relationship of exchange. And then my brother, I began to notice that in some of his cognitive deficit, he was able to tell me what was it about the games that he liked. And it was always about the movement, the constant movement, and him making a decision, even though it was simple. And so then I realized that from that experience, how can I help other children? How
Mhm.
can I reach the special needs world of children where their parents find themselves in the same situation that I'm in, directional, and they want to connect with their children in a much fun way, or a situation where visiting cousins and friends can also play a simple game with them. And that is how I transitioned to this motivation to give this crazy world of entrepreneurial a chance because of the compassion that I developed from my brother in trying to find a way to create a thriving atmosphere or a thriving relationship with him despite his disabilities. And that's how I landed here.
So you went from caregiver to game creator, basically.
And the game creation came from a dream. I think maybe the universe said, you know what, I'm gonna give you something special because I really needed that.
Yeah.
I was starting to get very irritated that our relationship was just directional. Me always giving him, directions or cleaning up messes he made. And I just felt like this wants to be more than this. Can't be this whole relationship of caregiving. And so when the game came to me and I developed it and I talked to my family, they loved it. And then when I played it with my brother and he also liked it, I felt like, wow. And I would pull it out, prototype. I would pull it out periodically and play with him. And he would still have that same joy about playing it. And he would always
Mhm.
say the same thing, even though I had to repeat how to play it. He will always say the same thing. I like this. And
Yeah.
so that motivated me to really give it a try to bring it to other parents to play with their kids.
And I think it creates a new connection, or it revitalizes the connection you had as being his sister and not just his caregiver.
Yes.
Because I think for me, sometimes I go into caregiver mode with Drayson and I don't get to be mom.
Mhm.
And then I feel very frustrated because I feel like I can't fulfill that other role at the same time trying to focus on his care and what he needs. And you're just kind of going through the motions. So
Mhm.
I would assume that you felt like you got to have a great reconnection with your brother, and your brother probably felt the same way. Like, this isn't just my caregiver. Like, I'm getting to hang out with my sister and do something with my sister. Did you guys feel like that there was a different form of connection that you were able to establish and kind of get you out of that caregiving mode and start having
Yes,
fun with
most
them
definitely.
again?
I'm just feel like that really helped the relationship because
Yeah.
it made me become less stressful because we were sitting down and play and laugh. And even though, like I said, I would have to tell him over sometime how to play it, it was still always a joy because then I
Yeah.
could tease him and say, "What this game before?" And he's like, "I know." It's the first so it was a moment where we can laugh. And I have to tell you, that propelled me to try other things with him to see the level of responsibility that he can have. And it started off with the game, and then I started letting him, he still can't put his medication together, but I would encourage him a routine of how to set it aside for him. I started testing him going to grocery stores with him, let him pick out his own grocery, with being there as that safety net. And it
Yeah.
seems like the more and more I loosen up the strings with
Mhm.
accountability and responsibility, the more and more my brothers began to change. There was this shift of his cognitive because I think we sometimes forget they're they have sensitivity too. They have their
Yes.
own desires. We have to find a way to speak their language and
Yeah.
understand it in a very patient way. And then the more confidence that he became, the more communicative he felt comfortable to tell me, I don't like that. I don't want that anymore. And so it was more than that direction. We were developing this relationship. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. This was the brother that used to get on my nerves. And so now I laugh. We both laugh at how we used to bump heads. And now, he's so grateful. And when people tell me all the time, you're such a good sister, and I tell them, you know what? I'm just doing the right thing. I'm just doing the right thing. And to see him thrive and going places on his own and making appointments, and his aphasia is slowly weaning. It's not as strong like it was. And to see him in a community now where he has people he can communicate and they're looking out for them. Because I'm going to tell you, when people are in a situation and they're all the same, they gravitate to help each other. We just don't see it. They have their own way of helping each other.
Yeah.
And I think this whole experience has taught me the beauty of looking at our differences in such a wonderful way and
Yeah.
appreciating what we all bring in our special way. And it all stemmed from me becoming a caregiver for my brother.
I always say my biggest teacher has been Drayson. He's been my biggest teacher in life. Like I've learned so much from him in terms of like exercising patience to thinking outside the box to trying to, like you're saying, you're formulating that connection and reestablishing a different kind of connection so that it's almost like an unspoken language between, me and for Drayson and I, it's like this unspoken language. But I'm sure that you've experienced some of the same things with that bond with your brother. It's like, we don't realize that sometimes if we just have fun playing, and this is the big thing that I feel like your game is bringing for people, that this card game is bringing, is that everything else kind of dissipates when you just start having fun and you realize the human connection of things it's so much easier. It flows so much more naturally when you're in a state of maybe trying to have fun instead of stressing out of how am I going to get this done? How am I going to remind him? How am I going to put the structure together? Like it gets so stressful. It's almost like you get in your own head about it. But what I love about your card game is I've noticed is that it kind of takes me out of that state of mind and it focuses on me just having fun with Drayson.
I have struggled with attention deficit. I don't know what's the proper term because they didn't call it that when it was whatever. When I was born in the 60s, telling my age, I had a hard time staying focused. So I could never play games with people and I would hide and I would always make myself the scorekeeper. And it was because I couldn't stay focused. The games were too long for me. I lose interest in them. And I fell in love with my own game, not only as the creator, but it was more so that now I can play a game because I felt like I didn't have to think too much. Because when you're a caregiver, in my situation, not having a background, I was always on alert, especially when I was so stressed out. I accidentally took one of his pills and almost took myself out of here by accident.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so because I was trying, my whole focus, and I know some of you are the same, your whole focus is on your kid, and sometimes you may neglect yourself. Well, we have to take care of ourselves in order to show up for them. And so I had to slow things down. I had to be very mindful. And so when I was playing the game with my brother, Pass and Play and ZomadicShift, I didn't have to think about it so much. It was a simple game that I can just relax and also teach him while I'm playing the game, but it wasn't a stressful teaching. It was a joyful teaching because when he got it right, to see the smile on his face and feel really good. And also, it was so funny when he would beat me. Oh my God. It was like, you won. And it was like, I won. So I excited. And so I like the fact that it's a chance style game where your kids can play and they can end up beating you. And they love it. They really love it. And I think that's what it is, Nikki, because if you're having a stressful day, who wants to come home and be stressed out in the game? You want to enjoy your child. You want them to enjoy the simplicity of the game. And then one of the things I like, I don't know if you discover, you can modify it. You can modify.
We have so many quirky versions of how we've played this game. And Drayson has even brought the cards to me. And for those of you listening, the cards are we'll talk about the game a little bit more, the details of the game, but the cards they have all these beautiful colors. So for those of you watching on YouTube today, you can see me hold up like all these gorgeous colors on these cards, right? And Drayson would, we started identifying emotions with Drayson by color, his emotions. So if he was red or, angry, he would tell me he was in the red zone. That's how we started establishing emotions with him when he was younger. And he kind of, not reverted, but like he brought up a different color, like burgundy. And he was like, he wanted to know what emotion that was related to, because we were just used to like primary colors.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, there's not really one associated with that I know of. Should we make up our own? What does it mean to you? How does it make you feel? And it was like, even though he couldn't give me a full sentence back, I could see him starting to think about something than just red means angry. Maybe burgundy means, I don't know, love, or who knows. But it was like he wanted to know, he was trying to decipher different ranges of emotion beyond just happy, sad, mad kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really big moment for me playing your game, because I was like, he's trying to identify a range of emotions, which I thought was fabulous. So for a while, we were just holding up colors on the cards, and I'm like, oh, can you find the other one? And it was like, we just started modifying the game. And I was like, and my husband was like, you're not playing it right. I'm like, there's no rules. There's no rules. I don't have to adhere to any rules. Like, it's working. Like, it's working. So I'm going to go with it. So I didn't get a chance to tell you that. So I hope that that's a wonderful testimony for you to hear, because I was like, this is so exciting for me,
I think so. I think anytime you can change or modify a game and still keep it simple, or a game where you can create an opportunity for your child to think creatively, that is still another thought for them.
Yes.
And it gives especially if it's simple enough for the variations, because if you think about with the game, you can play it the way I wrote the rules for it, but then you also can play it where you just take the other additional cards out and have them play a quick pairing game.
Yes.
It's so many things you can do.
I was just excited about the engagement, just getting the engagement from him. It was like, I got so excited because it was more engagement than I had been getting from him. It was more like, oh, he really is thinking, he's critically thinking about this, because he doesn't speak, or he doesn't always talk. Sometimes I don't know if he's really catching on what I'm saying. And I was realizing that he was critically thinking about it when we were playing your game.
Oh, that is so
which I got super excited about. Yeah, I'm like, which I got super excited about. But so tell me a little bit, how does the game, I know we're kind of talking about it a little bit already, but this kind of leads into my next question about, how does the game aim to engage, educate, and entertain kids? Because I think this is a perfect segue from what I just said into this question. So what are some of the things you've heard from maybe parents and families about that?
I would love to hear back from parents. I've had parents from all over to purchase the game from Walmart, but no one circled back and leave a review. And we know that customers, they judge the product based on the review. But I can tell you from when I do school days with kids, and I want to give the example of when I did a test with the special needs at a middle school in my local area in Maryland. One of the girls when I was vending, a young girl came up to me and she wanted to play the game. So I played it with her. And then her mother was surprised. She actually won a copy of the game. She said yes. And so when she walked away, her mother kind of whispered to me and told me she was surprised that her daughter liked the game because she was on the spectrum. And then she ended up buying a second one, and I didn't know what that was. So I kind of looked it up a little bit and everything. So then a friend would say, you should test it with some kids, some special needs kids. So I got a middle school that was able to do that. And let me tell you, one of the things that stood out when I said about the engagement was that the other kids were able to help each other. Like when you hold up a card, like the player card, let's say Brad, we get in demonstration. And if that kid had that card, but maybe they didn't respond, the other kids would say, you got it. And they would be so excited and help raise their hand. And so when we were playing the game, there was another child, I guess, that was on the higher spectrum, wasn't able to do things on their own. So the teacher decided to take the kid out of the game. But I think because the other kids were having that engagement, and then we were also calling out the colors, so they can recognize not only the colors and stuff,
Right.
but we wanted them to also hear the words that were written on the card so they can recognize and read the words too. The other child that was set aside began to get louder and louder, and I think he was non-communicative. And what he was trying to tell them, he wanted to play.
Wanted to play.
He
Yeah.
wanted to play because they were so excited. They were helping each other. And so she put him back in the game. And so she allowed the other kids to help him play that game. And ladies and gentlemen, he was quiet the whole time. He
Yeah.
was laughing. And when the game was over and the person that won the game, I was just so amazed. I was almost in tears. They were so excited
Yeah.
about the winner. And how we kept them engaged was, here's a tip for you. Whatever color was pulled, we would raise that color up so they can see it. And when we changed the colors, the cards to go one left or one left, we'll have them put that card in their hand. And then that way everyone can look around and they can say, oh no, you got the wrong hand. It's the other hand. So that's how we were able to do the engagement along the way. And then also the educational piece was just reinforcing the colors. And I call that not only just reinforcing with color recognition, but I also thought it was a good idea to talk about pairs. Like when you have the player card and the match card, those are paired colors. And so that was the educational piece that I wanted parents, that can also help children that are starting out to learn their colors. But if you have a child that already know their color, we know that's simply what? Recall.
Right.
And so then the entertainment part of the game was everyone being actively involved with the game and laughing. And the excitement was which one of us is going to have that winning hand. Because as the cards shift around to each player, from playing it with Drayson, it eliminates some of the colors, and one of you is going to be left holding the winning hand. And so the kids anticipating because they're looking. They're looking like they don't have any more cards. So we have put their hands on the table indicating they have no more cards. And they see the ones that have the cards. And then I would interrupt and say, which one of these are going to win the game? And they'll pull out their favorite player. And then when that person did it, they say, oh. So I just fell in love with that moment that has really motivated me, Nikki, to try to create other games that not only that, other kids can play, but make them simple that special needs kids can play with their cousins and friends because there are enough strategy games out there. But what about the simplicity game where all kids can come together, that you can modify and have that engagement, that educational piece, and that entertainment piece, and we just have fun and have that suspense.
Yeah.
I think
that was what the game brought for me, is that it reminded me to just have fun with Drayson. And I call these moments of belief, like I've talked about it in past episodes of my podcast, that the moment of belief that you realize that they're more capable than what we give them credit for, or there's potential there that maybe we didn't see. And I have seen some of that just through play with Drayson, just by engaging and trying to play and have fun. And I think sometimes we kind of get away from that because we're just so siloed into the everyday, grind of what we should be doing. And I think what I like about your game, and I know we've talked about this before in previous conversations, but getting that digital break, right? And I know that that's a big thing for you about this game is that getting those digital breaks. And so why do you believe that it's important that kids get those digital breaks and take a break from getting off screen, so to speak?
Well, you do research. We know that the experts are saying that kids should have digital breaks after 2 hours. And you can try to have a list of doing something. Okay. Silly. One of my granddaughters is struggling. She was in her phone all the time. When I say all the time, outside of school and doing her chores, she was in her phone. And so now we're experiencing her having some mental going on with her. And I think it's a correlation of her being on her phone and looking at social media. She started questioning herself, how she looks, and the different dynamics that are going on with school. And so I think that most parents, I understand that digital is a good way of saying, you know what, let me get myself together at the end of the day, go play a game. Or they just don't want to be bothered with their kids. Let's just be honest. And we put a game in front of them. And we know that digital is good for some educational as tools, but many kids are using it as their social outlet. And that's very dangerous because I tell parents, if we are creating a community of kids where they're in their digital all the time, you don't think their social skills are eroding? And I asked a bunch of kindergartners that when I went to school day, they played the game. And I asked them, what did you like about the game? And I'm going to tell you, they said it was the connecting with their friends and then being able to talk some smack with them.
Yeah.
And, and I asked them, what is it about digital? They say digital, they like the colorfulness of digital. They like the fast moving of it. But they said, one little girl said, I don't like it. And I said, why? She said, because I'm always playing alone. And with games, you can play with family and friends. And I think parents forget that part.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm advocating for digital, because you want your child to be well-rounded. Even special needs children, I feel, need social interaction. Even if you don't know what they're saying, or even if you don't have motor skill issues, there's nothing more beautiful than a touch, a hug, a giggle, a laughter with them. Even if you know they may not get it, but smiles is like 1,000 words of telling them, I love you. You don't even have to say it. When you smile at them, you're telling them, I love you. When you hold their hand or you touch them or you play faces with them, there's so many things you can do outside of just putting a device in front of your child. You can make up games. I tell parents all the time, there's so many things you can do. You can play a water game. I was thinking the other day, you can get a cups of water and tell your kid, how many cups do you think will fill this glass up? You think there's just so many things you can do outside of digital. And I feel like with digital, we're moving in such a digital world that right now, we're ordering our food. Pretty soon we're doing streaming, and then they're playing games. When are they going to have that social interaction?
Right.
And that's why I advocate for that.
It's a good reminder for me too, because it's important for me to have that connection with Drayson. And like I mentioned earlier, we get so siloed in the daily grind of everything that I do. Sometimes at the end of the day, I'm like, did I hug my kid today? Did I tell him I loved him? Or was I just so caught up in everything I'm supposed to be getting done? And I put myself into like a fight or flight mode almost. Like, did I actually stop and pause to try to have just even a moment of connection with him? And I have stopped myself sometimes at the end of the day, or I'm getting ready for bed and I'm laying there and I'm like, I didn't do any of that. And that really started to bother me because I also felt like I was losing a little bit of myself, because connection is so important for everyone, right? And I can verbalize that I feel the need to have connection with somebody, or I feel, I can verbalize that, but my son can't. Yeah. So I always think it's important for everyone to have that line of connection in some fashion. And
also too, with digital, I want to say for parents who have kids that's like myself, who have problems with attention.
Yes.
I did a test on myself. I signed up for TikTok. And I found myself, I became addicted to TikTok. And I'm going to tell you how it happens. Yeah. Because I have issues with staying focused. I get bored easily. TikTok was the perfect medium for me to keep strolling. If I didn't like what I saw, to the point where I was spending, because they tell you how long you've been on it. I was spending 2 or 3 hours, up to 4 hours just scrolling. And then I will wake up, I want to see TikTok. I want to go to bed with TikTok. And then I finally asked myself, what was it about that platform? And it was because I didn't have to focus on anything and just keep scrolling. So if you have a child that has that issue, you're not helping them. You're hurting us, because we who have issues with paying attention, we need to find ourselves in exercise or in situations that forces us to pay attention.
Attention.
And so there's other things. If your kids like digital because they like the colorfulness, there's so many things you can do with color. If they like the fast movement stuff, you can get some cups and say, okay, we're going to test how fast you can line these 10 cups up. There's so many creative ways that you can get them from that. Even if it's the learning, Nikki, you can take whatever they learned. Okay, let's talk about what you learned on your digital about your alphabets or your numbers. Let's talk about that.
Like,
That's
let's have a
social
conversation.
engagement.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the socialism that you're trying to do. But if it's all just the device and none of you, I'm going to openly say you're hurting your child in the long run because you're not allowing their social skills to develop and you're not creating the memories that you want them of that connection with you. And that is what helps them to thrive, I believe. It helps them to feel that love connection and get excited to see you because they know that you're going to give of yourself to them.
Yeah. And I think that's such a great point is that it's finding the balance of that because we've used some digital devices with Drayson before, but to try to get him to engage. And I think that, it can be something that if you find the right balance that you can, that you can definitely use. But I love how you just said that you have to be present in it. Like you have to still, it's so easy just to put them on a digital device and then just kind of like let them go on it. But really we have to step in and engage as well. And I think you bring up a great point. We have just a few minutes left, but I want to, for those listening today, I kind of wanted you to give a little breakdown exactly about the game and how it works. And because like I said, we've had so much fun playing it in our home. But why don't you tell our listeners today a little bit about how the game works and how it's just a really fun, rapid game?
Okay. First of all, it is a chance-style game. The objective of the game is to be the last player holding a card. And so I'm going to hold up 2 cards for you. You can see the play and the match. So when you're playing the card game, let me see when you open up the box, you want to separate the player cards. Yeah, the player cards from the match card.
Okay.
And so if you distribute the card, there's 18 player cards, and you can modify these cards based on your child's needs. And so if your child is holding the red player card and then someone happens to pull the match red card, then that means that color card is out of play. Okay. And then we have
the objective is to have cards in your hand, right?
Yes.
Because it's opposite of like other games that are out there. It's like, well, you get rid of your cards, you win. But this is
opposite.
Keep the cards. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is opposite. You want to be the last player holding the card because as you play the different elements of the game, the colors are going to be eliminated as you play.
Okay.
And how are they? And so to add a little suspense and an engagement, we just have the cards that says pass one right and pass one left. And that's so your child can be more cooperative and engaging. And it also is a lesson because there are going to be some other cards that they have to pay attention between passing one card, as I'm shown here, to the left or the right, to passing all cards. And I love how kids get tripped up in that. They'll just automatically see the left or the right, and they want to pass all the cards. And it says, no, the card says pass one. And so my thing with this part of the game is trying to reinforce paying attention and following direction. So that was the lesson part of this element of the game is keeping kids paying attention and following direction. Same with pass left and pass all the cards left and right 2 times. I wanted to throw a little mathematical in there where they can follow attention. And it's so cute when they're doing it more than one time, they lose track of, okay, is this 1 time or it's 2 times? So that adds more of the engagement and the entertainment as you're trying to figure out, did we go around the table 2 times or did we go around the table 1 time? And so as you can see, it's just a simple game. You're matching colors, but you're following all these cards, telling you to go right or go left. And so it keeps that engagement. And that's one of the things that I really, truly I love about Pass and Play is that even when you're out the game, when you're playing with more people, you're still excited about the game because you're wondering which one of us is going to be left holding a card.
Yes.
And the kids get excited about the suspense of it. And if you have a child that's very competitive, they're going to want to play it again.
Yes. No, and this even helped Drayson with, because he has a hard time between left and right sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So this even helped this, these pass all to the left or to the right. Like these cards really have helped Drayson because he'll think about it for a second and then he'll be like to the right, like making sure that and I'm like, that's correct. It's to the right. We've also played this kind of like hot potato, like who can get the next pass card, like, and it's like we've almost done like hot hands with the cards.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried to take them from each other. And then,
Yeah.
you've got to pass them to the left, or you got to pass them to the right. So we've kind of done that too, which has been kind of fun for us because it makes my husband Pat and Drayson and I, like, we all start giggling. We'll all start laughing because it's like who can get the card first, So I love that it has multiple functions of things that you can do within this game. Because I think it's in from a sensory standpoint, like you said, Drayson's paired with ADHD. So because it's a rapid game, it keeps him very engaged and it's quick. So it's like he doesn't have to sit on it for very long because otherwise he gets bored and he wants to go on to the next thing. So I appreciate you so much, Zorina. I love everything about your game. For those of you listening, the game's available at Walmart. Please check it out and please leave a review if you haven't. Once you get the game, try it with your family and leave a review for Zorina so that she can get as much feedback about her game. But I just wanted to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today to talk about the game. And I will post also in the show notes if you'd like to get in touch with Zorina or even figure out where to purchase the game from Walmart. We'll make sure that we list all that information in the show notes as well.
Oh, I really appreciate that because I really do see value in the game and I want to make more games, but as we know, you can't do that until you can show value. And the customer is the one that can elevate and show the value of it because I just believe that as my motto is, I want to create giggles and wiggles of fun. That's what I want to create for our kids. And so in order to do that, I just need parents to partner with me. And if they see value in how it's helped their kids, like you saw with Drayson, pass the word along so others can have that same experience. And then that will help me to do more creative games that they can play.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, for those of you listening, please check out the game, purchase it, and start having fun with your kids. Get back into maybe some human connection because it's good for everyone involved in the family. So thanks again for coming on the show today, Zorina. I appreciate you. This concludes our episode for today. If you have questions, comments, or even a show topic that you would like to hear about, please feel free to send me an email at info@piecesformypuzzle.com. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram if you have not done so already, or feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you like what you're hearing, please spread the word to others that this might help, and feel free to give us a good rating on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, keep working on your puzzle, and remember, you don't have to have it all solved in a day. Take care.